Hey guys, welcome to tonight's seminar. So today, or tonight, we're going to be talking about everything that comes down to progress. So this document here has been created, I created this because basically whenever we feel like we're not making progress, there are things in the way. There are always going to be things in the way, and something that we've been able to do with our time of training so many people over the years is understand the most common things that get in the way when we're not making progress. Because it's not that you're broken and you don't know what you're doing. That's not why you may feel like you're not making progress. It's usually because there is a knot in the rope, and you're probably just not aware of what that actually is. So this document here, the aim of it is for you to work through it and identify certain areas. And if you know that you've done this, you've overcome this, and that's not an issue, then you move on to the next one. And then same thing, we just keep moving down the line until you find that one thing that you feel like is what had gotten in the way in the first place. And then that is what we solve. So I want to read the top bit for you so that you understand what's going on. And then we're going to dive into each step, and below each step, there is also an action step. So as homework, you can do this, follow along with each step, and then from there, you should have a bit more of an understanding as to where you may not be making progress or what may be getting in the way. And then all we do from there is solve. Once we at least understand why we're not making progress, that is what we fix. But without knowing what we need to fix, we don't really know what actions that we have to take. So that's what this is aimed to do. So I'm gonna read this top bit. So, okay, let's say you jump on the scanner or you've done some self-assessment and you feel like you're not making progress, like you thought you would. Let's break this down into a step-by-step process so you can work your way down the line. 9 times out of 10, as you work your way down the list, you will find the knot in the rope. And once you untangle that knot or become aware of your obstacle, you'll be back on track in no time. So what we want to do here is work our way down step by step, do each exercise and find where the knot is. Once you find it, follow the action steps to get yourself back on track, and then use us for guidance along the way to ensure you can maximize your results. So at the end of the day, if you are struggling with certain things, one of the biggest things that we don't want you to feel is that you can't ask the questions, or you don't know what to say, or you feel too silly so you don't bring it up. Don't ever feel like that. If you have a question or you feel like you're not on track or you feel like there is something getting in the way, ask us, tell us. We want to know so that we can actually put the right things in place for you to achieve what you're trying to achieve. But if we don't know, or we think that we're doing the right thing and secretly you're like, oh my God, I'm not doing this, or this isn't working, or what you told me to do I haven't done, and that's why this isn't, the more that we know, the more information we have, the better it is for us to be able to help you get from A to B. Okay, so let's kick this thing off, shall we? Also, if you're following along online, get a bit of paper, get a notepad, because you're gonna have to write this stuff down anyway, so you might as well do it as we go through it, and you can tweak things as we go, okay? So, step number 1 is define your goals. This is crucial. If you don't know what your goal is, how do you know that you're making progress? That's literally step number 1. If you don't know what your goal is, how do you know whether or not you're on track? It'd be like getting in the car and just driving without a destination and just thinking, yeah, I'll get there. Where? Where are you going? Where are you getting to? You don't know where you're going, so how can you say, and then when someone calls you up and say, hey, how far away are you? You don't know where you're going. You're like, close. I don't know. You don't know. So define your goals. Now, to break this down a little bit more, what is it that you want to achieve? Now, if you don't know what you want to achieve, a very easy question to ask yourself is, what would make me feel more confident? Because one of the biggest things that being happy and being healthy does for you is that it increases your level of confidence. And if you have a goal in mind, very high chance that that is the bit where you're lacking confidence. So say, for example, you don't feel confident wearing a bikini, or say if you don't feel confident in wearing a certain item of clothing, then there we go, cool. We want to be able to feel confident in wearing this, or we want to be able to feel confident in, going to the beach and being able to not wear a shirt, or whatever it may be. There's a level of confidence there, or a lack of confidence, and that's what we want to try and solve. So if it's that, that's usually the first thing that I'll lead to. So for me, my whole life, it was always, I don't feel confident taking my shirt off when I go to the beach or to the pool. So my thing would be body fat, because I felt like I was too fat. So that's where you get to break this down and find out, cool, what is your goal? Usually we know, one of the most common things that we always hear is, I want to lose weight and tone up. It's a common goal, but we then want to take it a step further. And that's what we're going to dive into here as well. Because say if we want to lose weight and tone up, what does losing weight mean? Are you just looking at your main scale? So losing weight, does that mean you're okay with losing muscle? Because you're still going to lose weight. Are you okay with losing muscle? It's like, maybe we need to dive a little bit deeper, and the goal isn't just weight loss, it's body fat loss. So if you find yourself saying that you want to, lose weight and tone up, the goal there is actually, I want to lose body fat and maintain my muscle mass. Once we know what that is, then we know exactly what to do from there. But if you say you just want to lose weight, I could cut off a limb and you've lost some weight. Could we do that? Like, you want to try and be as detailed as you can so you know exactly what we're solving for. So a couple of examples: losing weight, building muscle, increasing energy, improving endurance. It can be anything. It doesn't just have to be weight loss, doesn't just have to be muscle gain. It can be anything. You may just want to live longer, and from there we can do the stuff to make you live longer there as well. So whatever your goal is, you really have to understand what it is, because if you don't, like I said before, it's like getting in a car and not knowing where you're going, and then not knowing how close you are to achieving that or getting to the destination. So we want to know what it is. Now, there's also another resource here that breaks the goal setting stuff down into super detail to figure out, what it is. But to simplify it, you want to have a goal that's specific and measurable. Okay, so to measure it, we want to know what it is. So are we linking a number with this weight loss or muscle gain? And we want to know a time frame as well. The more specific that we can get, that's when we're sweet. That's when we then know what we have to do. So if you find that your goal isn't, and you've just said, cool, I want to lose weight and I want to tone up, because it's not specific, we want to reframe it. So let's say you want to lose 5 kilos of body fat in 10 weeks. That's there, you've got a specific number for a goal, and you've got a specific time frame to lose it. We can work with that, because then all we have to do is put in the right action steps for you to achieve that, and then it just becomes doing that stuff. But if it's a vague goal like losing weight and toning up, we're losing 100 grams, or we're losing 20 kilos, we're losing 50 kilos, where is it? We want to make sure it's specific. And then the other thing could be increasing my muscle mass by 3 kilos in 12 weeks. So try and link up a time frame. It doesn't have to be a crazy goal. It can be something really basic and simple, just to make you feel like you know that you can actually do it. So say, for example, and then on the other hand too, if you have a massive goal that you know you're working towards, so say you're trying to lose 30, 40 kilos of body fat, that's also fine, because then we can create smaller time frame goals within that build to that end result. Because if you just say, cool, I want to lose 40 kilos, it's going to seem very daunting when we say, cool, half a kilo a week, we're looking at about 80 weeks to do that. That all good? You're going to be like, 80 weeks? 80 weeks, it's like a year and a half. What the heck? It feels like a long time. But if we're like, cool, for the next month, we're aiming to lose half a kilo a week for this month. You can then be like, cool, this month I'm focusing on this. And then we piggyback on that. And by the time we get to that, say 80 weeks, you've lost the 40 kilos, and you're not getting overwhelmed by a massive goal, because it's been time framed, and it's just a lot easier to manage and to stay motivated too. Because having a big goal set over a long period of time, it's very easy to lose sight of that, to get demotivated by that, because it's so far down the track. The reward is so delayed it's like, oh, what's a week not tracking anything gonna do? But whereas if it's a month, a week out of a month is a quarter, so you're missing out on a fair bit out of a month. That makes a massive difference as well. So, yeah, biggest thing, make it specific. If you have no idea what you're trying to do, like I said before, ask yourself what's gonna make you feel more confident, and then from there, we write it all down. Okay, so your action step for this, defining your goals, because if you're not making progress and you don't know what your goal is, that's why you're not making progress, because you don't know what progress you're even supposed to be making. Okay, so if you don't know what your goal is, you don't have a number and a time frame, there's action step number 1. So write down your goal, write down your time frame, and then from there, we get to move on to step 2. So if you feel like you're not making progress and you're not 100% sure why, all we're doing there is figuring out what that goal is. Because once we have the goal, we now know what the destination is, and now we can plan accordingly, okay? Now, this not making progress segment is based on you feeling like you're not making progress. So it's based on assuming that you've started your journey, you're on the journey and you feel like you're not progressing as fast as you can. This is not if you're just starting out and you have no idea what you're doing. This is more if you've started and you're working through a journey, but you don't feel like you're progressing as fast as you can. Because step number 2 is evaluating your consistency. Because if you're not doing the stuff that's going to get you to achieve your goal, you can't expect to make progress. It would be like, using the driving thing. It'd be like getting in your car and saying, cool, I got to drive to Perth. I live in Mandurah. It takes about an hour to get there. Cool. I'll be there in an hour. And then you just sit there and you don't actually drive and you just stay there. And then time passes and it's been 4 days. Where are you? Oh, I'm coming. But you're not doing anything. You're just staying in one spot. This is where the consistency comes into place, because you don't want to, you need to actually do the things that are going to get you to that goal to be able to achieve that goal. So without doing that, then we're not going to be making progress at all. So this one here is a massive step, because sometimes we don't actually know what we're supposed to do to achieve the goal. So how can we achieve the goal if we don't know what we're supposed to be doing? And that is something that we work with you with, like on your journey. So if you feel like you're not really sure what it is that you're supposed to be doing, bring it up. Like, we want to know this stuff, because if you don't know, that's our responsibility to be able to give you that guidance. We don't just want to say, figure it out, there you go, this is the goal, we're working towards that, and then you have no idea. We want you to be in on it just as much as we are, so that we can actually give you the advice that you need and be with you step by step. So step number 2 is evaluate your consistency. So how consistent are you with your sessions? Are you coming to your sessions every single week? Are you doing 1 session a week? Are you doing 2 sessions a week? And are you coming every single week? If you can look back and you're like, oh, I missed that week. No, I didn't do anything that day. Or that day was bad. Or this week I didn't come in at all. Then we can start to see the little blips. This is what we have to fix. So how consistent are you with your sessions? Are you tracking your sessions? So do you have one of these? Are you able to track how you're going? It doesn't just have to be your SpeedFit sessions. It could be if you're going for a walk, if you're going for a bike ride, if you're going for a run, whatever you're doing. Are you tracking? Are you making sure that you're aware of what it is that you're actually doing? I love this thing because it tells me how many calories that I've burned, and I gamify it. So if I haven't burned a certain amount of calories, I'm not allowed to eat any food. No, I'm kidding. If I haven't burned a certain amount of calories and I want to have a snack, but I haven't earned the snack, I don't get the snack. So that's what I love about this. And it also tells you how many minutes of exercise you've done. It's a good tool to keep yourself, on track. Because if you set some goals up with this and you haven't hit it, you got to work harder to hit it, and then you can be like, cool, now I can be okay. So, yeah. Step number 2, evaluate your consistency. How consistent are you with your sessions? Aim for 1 to 2 sessions per week minimum. Are you tracking your sessions? And if not, start being a bit more aware of what your levels are like, or how intense you feel like you're pushing. Because if you're coming in every week and you're just going through the motions, or you don't feel like you leave every session feeling like you're going to not pass out, but you don't feel like you want to finish a session and feel like you can't push any harder. That's the aim of the game. So if you feel like you've finished a session and you could go for longer, that's not ideal. That means that you haven't given it your all, and we want to make sure that you give it your all so that you can progress faster. Okay? So evaluate your consistency. This is more, you can really dive into a lot of deeper stuff here too. When it says consistency, are you sleeping consistently? Are you recovering consistently? Are you eating the right stuff consistently? Are you, being aware consistently? Or are you just kind of doing stuff you think you should be doing and you're doing it every now and then? You're not doing it every single day. These are the little things. So evaluate your consistency. An action step for this one here is review the last 4 weeks. So your last month. How did you come to every single session? Have you missed any sessions? Have you gone off the plan? Have you had any setbacks? Like, have you this? Have you that? And then write down any of these gaps. So say, for example, last month you missed 2 sessions because of work. You had meetings. Or say you missed a week of eating healthy because you just lost your mojo. Write this stuff down because it's stuff that we can break down. Because then once you've written it down and you're aware of what got in the way, you can then write down why it got in the way or what actually happened for it to have an effect on you. What made you lose your mojo? Why did that actually happen? Or what made you have to stay back at work? Is there ways that we can plan around this for next time? Because the biggest thing here is that if we can become aware of our barriers and we can become aware of the things that do pop up, we can then overcome them. And then if we can overcome them, whenever they pop up again, we know how to overcome them, so we can just do it again and we can overcome them again. But without being aware of it, that's what makes it a lot harder. Okay, so step 2, evaluate your consistency. Sessions, nutrition, everything that you know has an impact on your health. Have you been consistent? Be honest with yourself, be aware of it, and really be truthful to yourself, because this one here is another big one that gets in the way. And without having any self-awareness around this, you might be like, yeah, I'm doing everything I should be doing. But maybe there are things that you're not really sure of. So big ones, sessions, nutrition. Do you know how much protein you're getting in? Do you know how many calories you're eating every day? Do you know how much sleep you're getting every day? Do you know how many steps you're doing every day? All this stuff plays a massive part. So everything that we just spoke about here, the good thing about this being a recording is that you can go back and replay this 110,000 times until you've got every single piece of information, and then write that stuff down. Are you aware of all of the things that you should be aware of when it comes down to consistency? So review the last 4 weeks, write down any gaps, write down anything that got in the way, write down what got in the way, why it got in the way, and then from there, you can even do a recap, a bit underneath that says, what am I going to do to then overcome that? How do I solve this issue? How do I solve this? How do I solve this? And then boom, you've just created a solution for that barrier. So whenever it pops up again, boom, you know how to overcome it. Okay, so that's step 2. So we've covered step 1. We know what our goal is. We know when we want to achieve it. And then we've gone through step 2. We've evaluated our consistency. Maybe we've uncovered some areas that we haven't been consistent. Maybe we've gone on a holiday. Maybe we haven't found our rhythm again. Maybe there are things that have happened that have stopped us from doing the things that we know we should do, whether it's life, work. Maybe we've got back into bad habits of, say, binge eating after dinner, or whatever it is. Be aware of it. Write down any gaps that you've noticed in the last 4 weeks, and then we solve. If you don't know how to solve what the gaps are, that's what we're here for. Whether you email it through and say, hey, I've noticed this, how do I solve this? Or when you're in for your next session, you bring it up. If we're having a chat and you say, hey, Cal, how do I not binge eat after dinner? Quick tip, brush your teeth. No one wants to eat after they brush their teeth. That's a good one. Or chug about 1 liter of water. You're gonna fill yourself up, you're not gonna wanna eat. They're my 2 tips. Okay, so that's step one, that's step two. Let's move on to the next portion. So step three is tracking your nutrition. This is another massive one. This is almost just as important as the actual exercise that you do in the studio. Okay? One of the biggest things that we see is that people have a lack of protein in their diet, or they underestimate how much protein they actually should be getting, or they underestimate how much protein is in the food that they are actually eating. Okay, so as a rule of thumb, you want to be eating about 1.6 to 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. So if I weigh 70 kilos, I want to be eating about 140 grams of protein every single day to ensure that I'm getting enough protein in and my muscles can actually stay there and grow and not waste away. And if I'm trying to burn fat, I'm not going to burn muscle as well. We want to have enough protein so that we can actually keep doing the right stuff. Okay. So protein. A quick tip on protein. I've got a bunch of videos on this too. So if you haven't seen any of my videos on protein, go and watch them. They're all on the YouTube, they're all on Instagram. Protein is probably one of the, actually, it's my favorite macronutrient, but it's one of the ones that, it's the one that has the most impact. You know, if it takes your body longer to break down protein, so it's gonna keep you fuller for longer. If you find that you do a lot of eating, getting hungry all the time and then just like snacking, higher protein meals help keep you fuller for longer. The more muscle mass you have in your body, the easier it is for your body to burn fat. And the way to have more muscle in your body is to eat more protein. Protein is what makes you do this. Not protein exactly, but muscles make you do this. So the more muscle mass that you do have, the easier it is for you to do certain exercises and be strong and actually do the stuff that you want to do throughout everyday life, okay? That's protein. If that didn't make any sense, eat more protein. That should make sense. Just eat more protein, please. Like I said, target 1.6 to 2 grams of protein per kilo of body weight. So jump on the scales, weigh yourself, double that. That's how much protein you should be getting in. Next one, are you tracking your calories or following portion control? Okay, tracking your calories. I know a lot of us don't like doing it, and I'm not saying that we have to be doing it all the time, but I think one of the biggest things that we need to be aware of is that our body, like we want to know how many calories our body is actually getting in so that we are confident that we're on track to achieving the goal. Like if we've jumped on the body scan and we've said, hey, cool, I want to lose 5 kilos of body fat, and our recommendation for our calorie intake is, say, 1,800 calories. If we don't track for at least a week to know how many calories we're actually eating, how are you ever going to know that you're eating the right amount of calories to actually hit that goal? If you don't like tracking calories, or you don't like doing this, or you don't like doing this, that's okay. You don't have to do it. But what I want you to be aware of is that it's going to take you longer to achieve that goal, because there is one big major thing that you're not 100% aware of, and you may be overeating or you may be severely undereating, which is going to have a negative impact on you achieving that goal. So that's why I'm very naggy about tracking your calories, not every single day for the rest of your life, but for at least a week or two, so that you can see the average calorie intake that you are getting in. So then we can look at your scan, look at how much you're actually eating, do the math, and then work out. Cool. From there, if you track for 2 weeks and we can see, say, like I said before, that your goal is to, or your nutrition recommendation is 1,800 calories, but we're tracking everything and it says that you're actually eating, say, 2,200 calories, we can see on average that you're eating 400 calories extra per day. And when you times that by 7, that's like a whole day of extra eating. So of course you're going to be putting on weight and feeling like you're not making progress, because you're eating a lot more food than your body needs. So how can you expect to lose body fat when you're giving your body more than it needs? Callum, I don't like tracking. Callum, I don't like tracking. Don't worry about that. Just track for a week or two. Give yourself that data. And I promise you, once you see that data, you're going to be like, oh my God, I'm so happy I actually did that. Now I know why I'm not making progress. Because I'm just eating a little bit more, or I'm just eating way too less. And then we literally just solve that, and then we're sweet. And that is a big point that I do want to get across, because we're not being naggy when we say track your calories. Because I know it's boring. I hate doing it as well. But without that information, how are we ever going to know that we're eating the right amount? Like how are we going to know? So please, definitely do that. Okay? Know how many calories you're getting. If you're watching this now and you're thinking, I don't even know how many calories I'm eating on average, your homework is to watch the video that I posted in the group. Okay? It breaks down how to do it, how to track, how to stay consistent. Just do that for a week or 2 weeks. Hold yourself accountable for that. Make that your one goal that you do. And then I promise you it's going to give you a lot of information. Because then all we have to do is look at your average breakdown of how much protein, carbs, fat, and total calories you're getting in. Compare it to what your body scan recommendations are. And if you feel like you're not making progress, I can almost bet you any money that when we look at those comparisons with your body scan and your actual calorie intake, you're either eating more calories than your body needs, and that's why you're not losing the body fat that you are wanting to, or you're eating way too little that your body's in starvation mode and it's actually breaking down muscle and trying to hold on to the fat, so that's why you're not losing fat and that's why you're losing muscle. Whew. But yeah, so if you can take one thing away from this, it's just be aware of it. Just be aware of your calories, because they play a massive role in your health and wellness journey. And if you can sacrifice a week or two of just tracking for the rest of your journey to actually have the data there, it's a big payoff. Okay, so I got on a bit of a tangent there, but tracking your calories, and then portion control. So if you find that you've done the calorie tracking and you're like, yeah, cool, I get it. The easiest way to ensure that you eat less food, like say we track calories and we realize that we're eating too many calories, but then you don't want to track calories to make sure that you're eating less calories. The best way to track or to eat less calories is to just lower your portion control. And a good tactic for that is, well, any normal, say dinner set, you'll have like the big dinner plates, then you have the little plates. Just instead of the big dinner plate, go and use I don't even know what they're called. What are they called? Like a entree plate? I don't know. The smaller plates. Use that and just load up that instead of, I'm not talking load it up like you can't double stack it now that it's half the size. But this is going to teach you, if you just fill that plate up like you would your big plate, you've almost cut your calories in half. And that's a good way to then cut calories the easy way. If you really don't want to do the calorie thing, the portion control thing, that's another thing I do as well. Sometimes, like I don't track calories all the time. Sometimes I just want to eat a little bit less because I feel like I'm getting a little bit pudgy. I just do that. Just eat from a littler plate, and I just make sure I'm getting a bit more protein and just everything else is smaller. That helps. So portion control is another massive one. That's if your goal is to lose body fat and maintain muscle mass, okay? Limiting your portion control. The next bit is with your nutrition is to check if you've been consistent with your food intake. That's the other thing too, the consistency. Like maybe you're being consistent, but you're being consistent in the wrong stuff. That's a thing to check. And then also, have you been consistent in what you eat, when you eat, why you eat? Like are you eating? My downfall is that some days I'll get too busy and then I won't eat anything all day. And then I go all the way through and I just realize, oh my God. Like for today, I had a protein shake this morning and I've been on the go all day. And the only other thing I've had is a coffee. So you can tell me off for that because I know I haven't had as many calories as my body needs. So I'm probably breaking down muscle mass at the moment. And that is not a good thing. So that's another thing to be consistent of. Do you have days where you eat a lot of calories and then the next day you eat nothing? Or, is it consistently good? Is it consistently bad? Are you consistent with your food intake? Okay, that's another thing we're looking at. Now, on this, your action steps, we touched on this before, is track your meals for the next 3 to 7 days. Go for the 7. 3, not a lot of data. 7's good. 2 weeks, you're gonna get more. Especially if you know that you eat different things every day. I get boring and just eat the same stuff all the time because I know how many calories are in it, and it just makes it easier, so I don't have to actually track anything. I can just be like, yep, cool, I know what I'm eating. This has this many calories. That's easy for me to do. I don't have to scan anything. But if you find that you like a bit of variety and you have something different every night, tracking for a longer period of time will give you more accurate data, okay? When I say track everything, I mean everything. If you go out on the weekend and you have 14 gin and tonics, you got to track those 14 gin and tonics. Or if you go out and you have KFC on Friday night, you got to track all of that as well. Don't just track the healthy stuff, you got to track all the stuff. So, track your meals for the next, we're going to say 7 to 14 days. So track your meals for the next 7 to 14 days and see where you stand with calories and protein. Now you can do this yourself. If you go on to MyFitnessPal and you either watch the video that I sent or have a look at it, you'll be able to see what, like where the line, me expanding this, I'm going to do a terrible job, but if you're looking at your MyFitnessPal, you'll be able to see, it'll say protein, carbs, fats, and there'll be a little progress bar. You'll be able to see where you're at and see how close you are to hitting the goal. And if you're not hitting the goal, we know what we're working on. Okay, so tracking your meals for the next 7 days to see where you stand with calories and protein, that's your action step. Because once you have that data, you're gonna be able to look at what your scan says, look at what your calories are at, and that there will probably blow your mind massively. Because if you find that you're like, yeah, I've been eating like less food, I should be losing weight, but then you realize that you've been eating less calories than your body needs to stay alive, you're in starvation mode and you're not gonna lose weight because your body's too scared to burn anything because it thinks it's gonna die. Okay? So that's nutrition, that's step 3. Now, step 4 is, this one's a big one because we fixate way too much on weight that becomes our only method of progress that we think. So even if we look at that and we see that our weight hasn't moved, we just think we're not making progress. So if you're watching this and you're thinking that you're not making progress and you're just basing that off what you weigh, this is gonna open your eyes a little bit and you're probably gonna be like, oh, wait a second, I am making progress. Why am I watching this? I am making progress. What am I doing? So step 4 is monitor other progress indicators, okay? Beyond the scale, what else is changing? Because if you have built good habits and you have stuck to it, progress, baby. If you feel stronger and your levels have increased and you notice you have less back pain and you can hold a squat for longer, you can do lunges now, guess what? Progress, baby. If you have more energy or if you find that you're sleeping better, guess what? Progress, baby. So don't feel like just because the weight hasn't changed that you're not making progress, because there are a lot of non-scale indicators that are going to tell you that you're making progress, okay? And all looking at your weight does is it gives you a number that tells you like your gravitational force on the earth. That's all that number tells you. It tells you what your bones weigh, how much water you got in your body. Weight is not a good indicator for tracking progress. And I'll say this to make you think a little bit deeper about it, because I know we've grown up thinking, well, I want to lose weight. Everyone says I need to lose weight. Like, why would you say Weight Watchers then if I'm not watching my weight? Think of it like this, okay? If you told me, Callum, I want to lose 5 kilos. Cool. I can do that. We can do that. And we train for 6 weeks and I've got you on this crazy diet that's going to make you lose weight like crazy. Sounds good now though, right? I know. And then in say 5 weeks time, we check again. And then we look at your body scan and overall, it says you've lost 5 kilos, but you've lost no fat. You've only lost muscle mass. Are you happy or are you sad? You're sad, okay? Because you haven't lost any fat. And that's what you want to lose, because that's that's like the body fat is what makes you feel a lack of confidence. So we don't just want to lose weight. We want to lose body fat. So if we're looking at our weight, but we're trying to lose body fat, it's the wrong indicator. You know, you could potentially, and I've seen this happen time and time again, and it's such a mind blower for a lot of people, is you can lose body fat and gain muscle mass at the same time. And when that happens, you're losing body fat, you're gaining muscle. So you're gonna get to this point here, and sometimes when you lose body fat and you gain muscle, it cancels each other out. If you lose 3 kilos of body fat, but you gain 3 kilos of muscle mass, guess what? Your weight stays exactly the same. And if you're only focused on your weight, and that sets you back and you feel like you're not making progress and you just give up completely because you feel like you weren't making progress, you've just sabotaged your whole journey and you've made progress. So that's why when I say look at the goal and understand what it is that you're actually trying to achieve, we got to look at the right stuff. So don't just think that body weight is the indicator. There are other indicators that indicate that you're making progress. So if you're sleeping better, if you have more energy, if you're feeling happier, if you're stronger, if you have less body pain, if you can hold your squat for longer, if you can actually lunge now without knee pain, they are all massive indicators of progress. Okay, if your clothes are fitting better, maybe you haven't lost any kilos in weight, but your clothes are fitting better, that there tells you that your body composition is changing. So you're losing body fat and you're gaining muscle mass. That's why your clothes are fitting better. Because yes, everyone knows muscle weighs more than fat. So it's gonna change your total body weight. So I like to think of this as like checking say you want to check how much fuel you have and you check your oil. You're looking at the wrong thing. Like that doesn't make any sense. Why would I check my oil if I want to see how much fuel I have? So that's like checking your body weight when you're trying to look at how much body fat you're trying to lose. And our body scans that we do tell us how much body fat that we do have in kilos as well. That's the number we're looking at. No body weight, no nothing else. Our body weight could go up by 10 kilos, but as long as we've lost the 5 kilos of body fat that we wanted to lose, we're making progress. That's what we wanted to do. So that's why this is a massive step on this list, because don't just beat yourself up looking at one thing. I can guarantee you every single person that we have in this studio has made progress. We see it all the time, you know, and a lot of times these indicators go unnoticed because, oh, I'm down a suit size. So I'll just get a smaller one then. And be proud of that. You're down a suit size. Give me a high 10. Give me a hug. That's great stuff. You know, or where, you know, hey, I went out on the weekend, I went on this hike and I didn't have to stop halfway through it. I pushed through the whole lot. Like that's progress, but we don't necessarily look at it as progress because we can't technically track it. Or we're like, oh, maybe that was just because I slept better last night. But hey, because you slept better, that's progress. Remember 6 months ago when you weren't sleeping at all? Now you're sleeping better. Now you're feeling stronger, and it starts a snowball effect. So I'm getting hyped on this because step 4 is a big one. Monitor other progress indicators. Beyond the scale, what else is changing? How do your clothes fit? Do you feel stronger in your sessions? Are you sleeping better? Do you have more energy? That's step 4. Action step. This is for you to do. Write down non-scale victories over the past 4 weeks. Strength, energy, mood. What have your wins been over the last 4 weeks? Where do you feel like you've performed well? Write them down. Write them down, write them down, write them down. Look at them. Give yourself a pat on the back. Be proud of yourself because that is progress, baby. Okay, done step 4, let's do step 5. Another massive one, and this links us back into step 2. We touched on it a little bit. Step 5 is identifying potential obstacles. What barriers could potentially be getting in the way? What is holding you back? What do you think is getting in the way? Is it work? Do you work long hours and by the time you finish work you have no energy? Do you find that you struggle to track your calories, or you have a weakness for cake? Like what is it? What are your barriers? What are your obstacles? What gets in the way that holds you back? Once you can identify these, like I said previously, we can then solve them. So a couple of examples of this is stress. Is stress an obstacle? Do you find that you stress yourself out a lot? Are you stressed all the time? Is life hectic? Lack of sleep. Do you sleep okay? Inconsistent eating. That's one for me. That's probably one of my biggest barriers. Another one is, are you not challenging yourself during your sessions? Do you find that you come in and you're just kind of going through the motions and not pushing yourself hard enough? What is getting in the way? So say if you find that you've missed a couple sessions because of work, or you've missed a couple sessions because you like to sleep in the morning and you'd wake up too late. These are all barriers. What has stopped you from achieving the goal? What has stopped you from, like I said, getting to your goal? Is it procrastination? Do you find that you put off all this stuff and then when crunch time comes, you're like, oh, nah. Or, do you feel like it's been a long day and you just want to go home, so you're going to call in sick and you're not going to do your session because you feel a little bit, I got a little bit of a headache, I'm not coming. Is that a barrier? What happened in that day to make you not actually come in? So, boom, this is a massive one, okay? I have another full video on how to overcome any obstacle that you ever have, okay? But I can't remember where I got it from, but it's called Your List of Importance. And basically, to simplify it, you work out the top 5 areas that take up the most of your time in your life. And you have to be completely honest. You can't say that you prioritize your health the most and health takes the most time if it's at the bottom. So let's say, we'll do like a brief run through. Let's say you spend most of your time at work. So work would be top, okay? Now, list of importance means list of priorities as well. So if you spend most of your time at work, that takes top priority. If number 2 is family time, then number 2 is family. If number 3 is sleep, you still have to sleep, then number 3 is sleep. Number 4, usually hobbies, and then number 5 is usually health and wellness, okay? So if we're looking at those top 5, what would happen there is that if you book a session for after you finish work and you get asked to stay back at work, or you have a meeting on, then sometimes they go over. Because work is up top and health and fitness is down the bottom, guess what comes first? Work. So you're going to stay back at work, you're going to miss out on your session, okay? Let's say, for example, you want to book in a session for Saturday because you missed out on the Monday, but you play golf on Saturdays. Are you going to come to your session or are you going to go play golf? We look at our list. If hobbies is number 4, health and wellness is number 5, our hobbies are more important to us than health and wellness, so guess what? We're playing golf, we miss out on that session. So looking at where we spend our time and then really understanding what we need to be doing to then get to our goal. What this exercise does is it actually brings a lot of self-awareness into our progress, because we can actually see, I don't actually put in enough time and effort to my health. But my expectation is that I lose this amount of body fat and I achieve this goal, but I'm prioritizing it at a 5. Everything else is coming first, but I still want to achieve it. There's that expectation reality gap. So you're going to be disappointed because you think in your head you're doing all this stuff, but in reality you're not actually doing it, so you're not going to achieve the goal. So when we're looking at these 5 things, it's a lot better, like when you watch the video, it'll make more sense because you can follow along and you can copy it down too. The biggest thing I'll say with this is that it has to be accurate. You can't be in your head and give yourself an ideal thing. You can't be like, nah, health and wellness, that's top for me. I prioritize my health over anything. But then the moment something pops up, if it really did, then you would never ever miss a session. Nothing else gets in the way. You'd always be at your sessions. You'd always come to these seminars. You'd be, if it's health, you're here. But if not, then you got to be honest with yourself and say, cool, that's actually, no, I wouldn't get up at 6, or I wouldn't get up at 5 to be here for an early morning session at 6. So sleep I prioritize sleep more than health and wellness. Saturday, if I had the option to go on a weekend getaway or would I come to my sessions, I'd go for that weekend getaway. So boom, hobbies goes above it, down here, and then before you know it, it's down the bottom. It's not the end of the world because all we have to do is tweak some of our priorities and then work it out. So if work gets in the way, we're going to prioritize work. We don't book a session when we may have to stay back and do a work meeting. Or if we prioritize our sleep, we're not going to book a session for 6 a.m. because 9 times out of 10 we're going to sleep in and we're not going to get up early and come to the session. Okay? If our only other option is to do it on a weekend when we can have a bit of a sleep in and we're not working, but then our hobbies start to play a part, then we have to make a few little tweaks. You know, maybe we don't book golf, or we don't book our hobbies until later on in the morning so we can come to a session at 9 a.m. on Saturday. So we can still do our session, not get stuck at work, still get a sleep in, and then still have our hobbies afterwards. Everyone wins. It's just about managing those barriers, and what that does there is it solves those barriers too. So you can always be one step ahead of them, because if work is always going to get in the way, you don't want to put yourself, you know, head on with that. You don't want to have there be a chance that you may get stuck at work. You want to make sure that you can guarantee that you're going to be able to come to your sessions, you're going to be able to do the things that you need to do to achieve your goals. That's why this is so important. You don't want to, you know, I should be fine. Yeah, I'll book it for then, I'll be right. And then get to it and then not do it. So this one here is one of the biggest things, because if you can solve all of your barriers, then you'll never ever have a barrier ever again. And whenever it does pop up, I lie to you when I say you'll never have a barrier again, because you will always have these barriers. But if you can solve them, you will never be held back by them. Because like I said before, you're always going to be one step ahead. Because the moment that I say, hey, do you want to book in for Monday afternoon? And you're like, oh, I've got a meeting, I should make it. You're going to be like, wait a second, every time I have a meeting, I miss it and I'm not going to come to my session. So no, Callum, I'm not going to book that session on Monday. I'm going to book it for Saturday morning because I know that I'll actually be there. Boom. Barrier overcome. That is progress as well. So yeah, mitigate those barriers. So an action step for step number 5, an action step for identifying potential obstacles is identifying 2 to 3 things that might be holding you back. Write them down, because then we get to solve those barriers. Write down what your barriers may be. And then I'm going to put in another one under here. Another action step is to watch that video on your list of importance, your list of priorities, because that is going to get us to help identify more barriers. Okay, step number 6 is adjust your routine. Okay, with your sessions, increase your levels, up your intensity. You know, when we're doing a session and we turn things up and we say, hey, tell me when, and then you tell me when, but it's too early and you can still push harder, bite your tongue for a little bit, make the levels go up a little bit more, add some intensity there. The other thing too, if we say do a squat, drop a little bit lower in your squat. Be like, oh, that kind of hurts. I'm going to get a little bit lower. Drop a little bit lower in your squat. When we have breaks, try and work through the breaks. Little things like that can increase your intensity level. And then the other one here is add a variety. Add some variety. So adding variety helps break some plateaus. So say if you've been doing your strength sessions for a long period of time and you're getting a little bit complacent, you know, your levels have stayed the same for a little while now and you want to try and spice it up a little bit, try a cardio session. Or add in, say, 2 weeks where you do 2 sessions a week. Just add to it so that you're doing a little bit more to it. So spice it up a little bit. So adjust your routine. This kind of gets your body going, oh, what's going on? What am I doing? It spices things up. It gets you a little bit more aware. It's like when you're watching TV and then you hear a loud bang and you're kind of like, whoa, what was that? You get shaken up. It's the same thing. Change up your routine. It'll shake things up and you'll be like, oh, what's going on? Oh man, I was getting a bit complacent, wasn't I? Yeah, I was. Then from there, we can roll with that. You know, maybe it's going to take going from 1 session to 2 sessions a week for the next 6 weeks. Jumping on a challenge, having a bit more accountability. So that's one. And then the second part to this step 6, adjusting the routine, is nutrition. So we touched on it up here, but down here too is tighten up your tighten up your portion control if needed. Maybe you've kind of snuck back into that eating a little bit more, or you're not, you've grabbed that big plate again, or you're not really looking at what you're eating, you're just eating to feel full. Tighten that up, and then increase protein if you're falling short. Now, when we do this here when I said, you're tracking everything you're eating for the next 7 to 14 days, when you've done that, you're aware of how much protein you should be having because you've tracked, you know how much protein you need to actually hit your goal. So when it comes to adjusting your routine, and down here on the nutrition part where I say increase protein if you're falling short, you're gonna subconsciously know that you're falling short because you know how much protein you should be having. And say if it's a lot more than usual and you've dialed back to having what you usually have, you know that that's not enough. So you're gonna be quickly aware of the fact that you're falling short. And this is where this comes into it, because if you're adjusting things or you're shaking things up, that increases your awareness. So, you may be like, oh crap, I haven't been eating my meals, or I haven't been, tracking anything, or I haven't been eating any protein. If you're falling short, it keeps you aware of it, and then you can adjust. And because you've done it before, you just have to flip it and be like, all right, cool, maybe I go back and do a week of tracking again, get myself back on track, then I know what I'm doing, okay? So with adjusting your routine, an action step for this one is to write down 2 actions that you know you need to take, and then guess what? You just do them. So write down 2 things that you feel like you need to be doing that you're not yet doing, or that you were doing that you're not now doing. You've got to reintroduce them into your routine. So write down 2 actions that you'll take to adjust your routine. So it could be, okay, next time I come to my session, I'm not going to say stop until my main level hits 60. Or, you know what? For the last 3 minutes, I'm not taking a break. Whatever exercise we're doing, I'm going to do it through the break. Or, you know what? For the next 6 weeks, I'm going to do an extra cardio session a week. Okay? You've added an action step. You've adjusted your routine. On the nutrition side of things, you know what? I'm going to track for the next 7 days. I'm going to see how many calories I'm actually eating. I want to see if I'm still on track. Then I can know what's going on. If I'm not, I know what to change. Another big one, okay? So action step there, write down 2 actions that you'll take to adjust your routine. That's step 6. Let's move on to the next one. We got step 7, set a new action plan. So if you have gone through that whole thing and you're feeling like you're still you'd be like, yeah, I've done all of that stuff, but I'm still, I still feel like I'm not making progress. Maybe it's time to change up our routine. Maybe, like I said before, maybe we need to increase our session intensity. Maybe we need to prioritize our sleep a little bit more. Maybe we need to meal prep to improve nutrition consistency. Maybe we need to understand what our goal actually is. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe I keep thinking that I'm trying to lose fat and maintain muscle mass. Or sorry, I'll change that. Maybe I want to build muscle and tone up and feel like I want to give my body some shape, but every time I put on weight, I get paranoid and it makes me feel upset, so then I try and not eat and then I end up losing weight, so then I'm just spinning circles. Or, maybe my goal is to just reduce visceral fat. Maybe the goal that I thought I had isn't even my goal in the first place, and that's why I haven't actually made any progress, because I'm self-sabotaging because that's not my actual goal. There are a lot of things that could be at play here. And that's why setting a new action plan could be the next thing that we need to be doing. There is always a time where it's either push through, or it's like the pivot or push. Do I pivot, change directions, or do I push and I power through? I keep doing what I'm doing and I'm more consistent, or, do I get to a level where I'm like, I've been trying to lose body fat for this long, maybe I need to change it up a little bit and just try and put on some lean muscle mass, tone myself up, and then I can dive back into the body fat loss. Maybe that's what I need to do. You're gonna get to a point where maybe we need to change some things up. So this one here is doing just that. Now with this guide, I'm gonna send it to everyone. You're gonna have full access to this. When it says set a new action plan, it doesn't have to be completely new. Your goal could still be the same. If your goal is still to lose body fat, and that's still the goal, maybe it's just a new action plan for that. So maybe instead of just doing 1 session a week and not tracking anything, you're doing 2 sessions a week, you're tracking everything, and you're gonna start journaling and writing down how you're feeling every week to make sure that you're doing the things that you need to be doing. Maybe if it's whatever it is, everything that we covered that you're not yet doing, this is what that new action plan is. It's doing that. It's adding that into your schedule. It's prioritizing time to meal prep on a Sunday. It's doing these extra things that you know you need to be doing to help put you on track to get to where you're trying to get to. Okay, so setting a new action plan. What changes will you implement? Okay, increase workout intensity, get better sleep, meal prep to improve nutrition consistency, understand what my goal actually is. Is it track for a week, track my calories? Is it this, is it that? Is it try light and easy for the next 3 months? Is it, this? Is it whatever it is, whatever you feel like you need to do or change it? And this is another thing if you feel like you're at this point and it's, hey, Cal, I need to set a new action plan, that's something that we can discuss because it'll be individualized. It's not, hey guys, if you're doing this, then let's do this. Everyone's going to be different. So if you find that you feel like you've tried everything and you're still struggling to stick within your calories, cool. Maybe our new action plan is instead of you tracking your calories and trying to do it all the hard way yourself, what about we just try light and easy for the next 3 months? Set your calorie goal. This is how many calories you need to be having. They send you your food. Yes, it's going to cost you a little bit of money, but what's more important to you? Achieving your goal or spending a bit of extra money to fast track that. What's more important? Saving a bit of money or getting to your goal? That's what I was trying to get out there. So yeah, looking at that. So maybe we try light and easy for a little bit. Or let's say, you know what? I'm getting too complacent. I'm just doing 1 session a week. I feel like I push really hard when I'm in, but then I don't get to see you guys for a week. And on that, the rest of the time when I'm not in the studio, I feel like I'm in my own head and I don't get enough done. It's like, cool, guess what? Our new action plan is that you're jumping on the 6-week challenge and you're doing 2 sessions a week for the next 6 weeks and you're gonna have a lot more accountability. New action plan, okay? So depending on your goal, assess the below blueprints and choose the blueprint that correlates with your goal. And then work through the blueprint in detail, begin creating good habits, take action where it counts, and assess your progress along the way. So what we've done here is the 3 most common things that we see: lose fat and maintain muscle, build muscle and tone up, and reducing visceral fat. They're the 3 main ones that we see, and we've mapped out a full process with a bunch of action steps for you to achieve that. So if you find that your goal is to lose fat and maintain muscle mass, but you have no idea what to do, and you feel like that's what you're struggling with, and that's why maybe you're not making progress, action plan, bang. If it's build muscle and tone up and you feel like what you're doing now isn't necessarily doing that at a rate that you would want, boom, scan that, go for it. If reducing visceral fat is your goal, let's say, you've hit 50, you've hit 60, and the main goal for you now is to be able to play with your grandkids and live long enough to be able to see them grow up, and you feel like visceral fat is what you're focusing on. You're not really worried about having this much muscle mass or looking this way. It's more of a longevity thing. Visceral fat is the fat that surrounds your organs, and that can be fatal. That's what we're working on. So there are things there. Setting a new action plan, implementing some new things. Talk to us about that. Tell us what has changed. Tell us, hey, I think I need to set up a new action plan. Cool. We will sit down, we'll break down each part of what your goal is, and then we can work out a good action plan based on that, okay? Step 8 is to review and reflect. So give yourself a bit of a progress check, okay? This is kind of what we're doing now. It's reassess your goals and progress after 4 weeks. It's actually making sure we do a bit of a recap and actually check when we should be checking. It's not just set and forget. You can't come and say, hey, guys, I want to lose 10 kilos of body fat, let's go for it. And then you don't check anything for another 2 years. And then you're like, hey, I didn't achieve my goal, what the heck? It's like, what, you didn't, what do you mean? You're not like, you need to check and make sure you're staying on track, because things change. Life changes. Maybe we get injured. Maybe we have, things going on. Like, life happens, things get in the way, people go through stuff, and things can hold us back. Things can throw spanners in the works, and we can lose all motivation. That's why reassessing what our goals are and what our progress is like. Do it every 4 weeks so you can be like, yep, cool, my goal still aligns with what I'm doing. Or, hey, you know what? I think my goals are changing. What do I do? Oh, let's set a new action plan. Or let's reassess my nutrition. Or, you know what? Let's have some fun. Let's set some new goals. What do I want to do now? I've hit this goal. Let's set some new goals. So reassess your goals and progress after 4 weeks. Use the same steps that we've just gone through to evaluate your consistency, your nutrition, and then also other indicators of progress, because we need to know this stuff. So action step for this one is to set a reminder in 4 weeks and to reflect and track changes. So if you've watched this, your homework is to set a reminder for 4 weeks. When that alarm goes off, you got to reflect and review pretty much from you watching this to 4 weeks down the track. If nothing has changed, that's why you feel like you're not making progress. And that's why you may not be making progress, because you haven't changed anything. So then we go back and we do all the action steps. And maybe it takes you a few times before it makes any sense. And maybe it takes a few times for you to be like, oh, okay, this is what I need to be doing. Because this happens a lot too when we, everyone knows that person that reads all these books, does all this stuff, researches all this stuff, but they're still exactly the same. Like, there's a thing with learning, and I'm going to botch when I explain this, but I want you to try and get the main point. Learning happens when you have, you have a behavior, you have a stimulus, and then the behavior changes. That's the definition of learning. Okay, so if you have a behavior now, let's say you feel like you're not making progress or you're feeling unmotivated, okay, there's a new stimulus, we've just done a whole heap of learning. If your actions don't change, you haven't learned anything. That's what that means. So if you've done all this stuff, you've looked at it, you've been like, yep, cool, let's do all this stuff, but then you don't actually take the next step and action it, technically it means you haven't learned anything, because you haven't changed anything. Okay, so just taking in information all this time, or all the time, doesn't actually mean we're learning anything if nothing changes. So I guess to end this, the biggest thing would be that you do the action steps for each thing. If you work your way down and you're like, yep, I'm doing that, yep, I'm doing that, yep, I'm doing that, and then you get to that one thing that you're like, oh, I'm not doing that, make sure that action step you do, because it's going to be massive, and that's going to show yourself that, hey, I've learned. Oh, yep, cool. It's going to be a bit of pain. It's going to give me some pain because I'm now uncovering, maybe I'm uncovering certain things that I'm not comfortable with. But that's progress. It's not supposed to be easy. Like, a health and wellness journey is one of the hardest things to endure because it's delayed gratification. It takes a lot of time before we can, get that reward. If we have a goal to lose 50 kilos and it takes us 2 years, it's a long time to wait before we can feel confident. But the payoff is worth it. If we know that we're consistently making progress, it's worth it. In the moment, it may not be because we think, oh man, this is taking so long. But when you zoom out and you think, you know what? Yeah, I sacrificed 2 years to go through this learning experience, to put in the blood, sweat, and tears, but I achieved the results that I wanted. I learnt a heap of stuff that's going to allow me to be happier and healthier for the rest of my life and pass that information down to my kids. That's worth it. So don't look at it from a day-to-day thing and be like, oh my God, it's taking ages. Oh my God, this. Everything you're doing now, it's going to piggyback on each other. Like, you're going to get to a point where if you can learn all this stuff now, it's going to stick with you for the rest of your life. And you might find that you have a friend or a family member, or even if it's one of your children, they may be struggling with something like this down the track, but because you've overcome it and you've put in the hard work to actually solve it and create the life that you want, you can then give them that information and give them, your perspective of how you went with it. And yes, it took me time. Yes, it wasn't easy, but hey, I did it. And the fact that you've done it, like, that's what it's all about. So don't get too overwhelmed. Don't stress yourself out thinking that you're never going to make progress, because there's no such thing as failure. There's only learning if you take the action steps on. So say, for example, you jump on your body scan, or you jump on the body scanner and it gives you a very bad result. You're not a failure. That doesn't mean you failed. What you've done is learned what habits don't serve you. So say you jump on and you're like, oh, you know what? Yeah, I haven't been tracking calories. I've been overeating. You know what? I don't really sleep that well. I drink a lot of soft drink. I drink a lot of alcohol. There you go. You've jumped on your body scanner. You're not a failure. You've just learned, okay, cool, I got to track calories. Okay, maybe I shouldn't drink 10 wines a week. Okay, maybe I need to, do this, do that. You've learned what we need to change. That is progress. That is what we're talking about here. So I hope that you've been able to stick through this hour and then just be a bit more aware of what progress actually looks like. And my goal for this was to, I guess, bridge the expectation and reality gap as well, to make you a bit more aware of what actually does go into making progress. And also for you to understand that it's not going to be easy, and it's not meant to be easy. This whole thing is supposed to be a challenge. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. But the fact that you guys are the ones that are aware of the fact that you have goals that you're trying to achieve and you're trying to close this gap, whether it's for yourself, whether it's to show that your kids that you, like what's important and why it's important to look after your body, like whatever your reason is, be proud of yourself for actually being on the journey, because that shows a lot. I'm pretty sure Australia now is up there with top obesity levels. And that means that most people that you meet, they're not aware of any of this stuff. They don't even care about any of this stuff. Well, maybe they care, but they're not willing to do the stuff that it takes to actually improve on this stuff. So to me, that means they don't really care. But the fact that you are watching this and you're taking this on board and you're actually thinking, oh, okay, cool. Like the fact that you feel like you're not making progress, or maybe you feel like there are things that you need to be fast tracking, and there's some sort of pain there, that shows that it matters to you. And you need to use that as a power. Like use that as a driving force to actually do this stuff, to then make progress, to then actually progress, to give yourself the best outcome, to then achieve your goals. So with that, I want to thank everyone for watching this. Like I said, you better watch this whenever you want. Watch it a couple times. Send it to someone that you really think needs to see it. And then if you can't access this document, tell me. I'll send it to you. And yeah, my name is Callum, and thank you for watching.